the nature of artificial intelligence and develop, especially in music and art, has more of a exploitive character. I realized that in order for me to do what I wanted to do, I could not stay in Switzerland. Like, we don't know what's going to come out of this. Like a big portion of it is just maybe going to lead to another idea. A lot of those protocols are no longer functioning.
Jojo, what is happening here?
Well, we're experimenting with a technology that allows the computer not only to hear me, but also to see me and find ways of interpretation according to like visual input and not only audio input.
And that is also something you do for your shows, or is it unclear yet for what?
Well, it's basically R&D. Like we don't know what's going to come out of this. Like a big portion of it is just maybe going to lead to another idea. So we don't have a deterministic vision of what this could be. You know, this is really research and development at this point.
Jojo, we are here in Bern, in the Beer Hebeli Club, where you will be playing tonight with your new project, Me Machine.
That's right.
Can you introduce us to your companion?
Well, my companion is a generative music system that listens to the input of my drumming and renders output according to how I play. So it's like a backing track that listens to what I do and changes. When I stop, it also stops. So it renders some variations of what I play, and then I react to that. So this creates a closed loop of basically that kind of uncouples the hierarchy of cause and effect. It's a little bit like something like analytical perception of fourth dimensionality, you know. So there's many different ways how this can be implemented, but this is the basic idea.
Well, that sounds all very promising. How about you show us what that means exactly?
I can show you at the example of something stripped down. You know, there's many different ways how we can program a module, but let's strip it down to something simple as like a bass line. So I kind of create an anthropomorphic version of a human bass player, basically. All right. So I start with something simple, right? You go. Okay, so now I add complexity to it. Play more syncopated. I go a little bit more crazy. I start messing with the bar lines. So I start to put meters, like random meters of 7 or 21, 16, or I change tempos. The computer will follow me. Okay, so the computer always goes with me. I can listen to what it does, and sometimes it inspires me to do something. So I can go pretty crazy with that. Other than a human bass player, the computer will always know where I am, basically.
Did you give him a name?
No.
You always know, because it sounds a little bit confusing. I mean, you're not playing with a band, but it is reacting to your impact, to your
Yes.
play. Do you sometimes, I mean, okay, obviously it's an illusion, but do you sometimes believe you're playing with an actual human being?
Well, yeah, I do anthropomorphize it sometimes, which of course is nonsense. Like when this closed loop renders a good output and I'm kind of in the flow with it, it feels like the machine can read my mind, which of course is not true. So I understand this as a prototyping for a new way to make music, for instance. It's like perhaps this is going to be one day a helmet that can read my mind. And so I don't actually need to learn to play an instrument, but I only need to learn how to think music in a good way. It's a utopian thing, and it is not quite without danger, because we as humans depend on our body. Our experience is an experience that relates to our physical being. We cannot just erase that.
How much of yourself is actually in this machine?
Well, I programmed the machine, so I can decide how the machine reacts. It's a little bit, imagine there's a lot of different games that are played with cards, but usually it's 52 cards. There's hundreds of different games that have different rules. So what I do here with the different songs or tunes or models, I create games and I program the machine to react a certain way. I could program it that it would, like a parrot, just repeats everything that I do. This would be a very boring game. I could also put the randomization or the probability that it becomes completely chaotic, and then it doesn't make sense. I could play whatever I wanted. It would never really line up, only by accident. That's not an interesting game too. When it gets interesting is when I have the sweet spot in the probability that it relates and that I can relate to. It is a little bit of like an alter ego of mine. It's just a distorted one, and it makes me actually discover things about myself.
I mean, you told us that you've already been experimenting since the pandemic, more or less, with this machine. How did it change you as a musician by playing with it?
I think it projects me to a place of more thoughtfulness and more sensitivity to my own emotions, because I can't blame anyone else if it doesn't come out desirable. It's really me. So a very, very small thing can get very amplified by the computer. It's almost like a magnifying glass. I make a little glitch. The glitch is manifested. I will have to deal with the glitch. Retroactively, I have to, glitch is, hopefully I can make something with the glitch that I wasn't thinking of 4 seconds prior to that.
So Jojo, we are here in Ascona on the Monte Verità at the Literature Festival. And what are you doing here?
Well, I'm just presenting my work, my point of view.
Freuen wir uns auf diese Levitationsübung mit Jojo Mayer.
You spent quite a lot of time in New York, where your
Over
career
30 years, yeah.
over 30 years, where also your career took off. What was your initial motivation to go to New York, and then why did you decide to come back to Switzerland, your native country?
I went to New York when there was no cell phones, no internet, and I realized that in order for me to do what I wanted to do, I could not stay in Switzerland. I would have to expose myself to the place where it's happening, you know, where I could grow and do all these things, you know, and Switzerland was not a place that allowed for this type of development.
Back then, and how do you see it today?
Well, it's similar still, you know, it's a little bit different, you know, because basically, you know, like the biggest metropolitan area, it sits in your pocket. You know, it's like you're connected in your mobile. So, and also because of my career path, like right now, today doesn't matter where I live physically, because I still travel around the world. And Switzerland is it's a great place just to live. You know, it's not a great place to work for me personally, but to just live here, it's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. What kind of place is New York today, in your point of view as a musician?
Well, there's still millions of people live there, and of course there's still people who create amazing things, but it's not the place it used to be. You know. The demographic has changed. You know, it's like there's a new audience that came in, which to a large degree consists of sons and daughters of with a very privileged background. They come to New York because they want to consume this mythological atmosphere that was created in the last century by cultural desperados.
Like yourself?
Yes, well, you know, I'm standing on the shoulder of giants, basically, you know, but this is the idea. But they're no longer able to give birth to anything.
Now we spoke before about Switzerland, now you're back. So how do you see the country now? How has it changed in those 30 years that you were?
Switzerland?
Yes.
Well, I think it got more colorful, more diverse, which is great. Certain things did not change, you know, which are like, you know, like the things that I miss the most from New York. Mm-hmm. In America, there is a sense of generosity, and there is a sense of urgency and
surprises.
You just always it doesn't matter if you play in front of 10,000 people or 10. You know, the energy level is very, very, very high. Like the intention to you, even if you play in a pizzeria, you know, you max it out. You know, you do whatever you can. So there is a confidence that over there of the judgment, of the perception, like, I have my taste, I know what I like, and I recognize this is good. In Switzerland, we are more opportunistic. It's not safe to make the decision, I really like this, even if nobody else does. I think it comes from the Swiss mentality, you know, the Ur-Schweizer, you know, they were mercenaries. Mm-hmm. You know, this is a very opportunistic job to do. You know, you're very loyal to whoever pays you money, and I don't care. The financial system is maybe like a modernization or like an extension of that mentality. So our Swiss, how should I say, the Swiss neutrality is maybe is like a diminutive of what is really opportunism, and I think our wealth, our incredible wealth that we have in Switzerland, doesn't belong to us. You know, we're just look after it. Opportunism is on the opposite spectrum of what it takes to make great art. Make great art, you have to have a point of view and you have to defend it. Opportunism is the opposite. Great art cannot be created with opportunism. It's a Stellungnahme.
Concerning the outbursts of creativity, I mean, where do you see them? If, as you said, underneath the mainstream, there still are some of those. Where would you locate them?
You know, people that contribute new ideas, they still exist. They always exist. Creativity doesn't go down, but the new Alfred Hitchcock or John Coltrane or Jimi Hendrix, they are here, but they're floating in an ocean of signal-to-noise ratio, where it's going to be more difficult to actually accomplish critical mass. You know, that creates a movement. You know, so for the past 20 years, we had a total flattening of the mainstream surface, where compared to the last century, you could identify the 50s, the 60s, the 70s. You know, no matter if it's music, fashion, or film, after 1 second, you can tell this is from the 60s, this is from the 70s. So,
and you can't tell that about today's mainstream music?
I cannot tell it really, you know. I mean, the new fashions are socio-political fashions, you know, they go up and out.
And the things you see, can you also foresee in which direction they're going? Is it even possible to foresee that?
Well, I'm not a psychic, of course, but I concern myself with the present and what might be coming at us. Like now we have the new tool of like artificial intelligence, you know, but the nature of artificial intelligence and develop, especially in music and art, has more of a exploitive character more than explorative. Like, oh, okay, I have a great idea. I take a Bob Marley song and I change Bob Marley with the voice of Frank Sinatra, you know, and this you can go on forever, you know, but that's not really how I think creativity works, because the difference between us and the AI is AI relates on interpolation and human creativity relates on extrapolation. So it's the accidents, it's the thing that we don't plan, that we integrate, you know, the things that we could not possibly have thought of. I really like improvisation. It's a really deeply rewarding thing that it's like to create something on the spot, you know, but improvisation actually has a negative connotation. You know, most people only improvise if things don't go according to plan or to protocol, you know, and that's why we think, okay, improvisation is provisional and it's better to plan things. But I think with this time that we live in, where the future is coming up at us with accelerated speed and uncertainty, I think improvisation is possibly going to be a very helpful tool when planning becomes incapacitated.
Das Beweis, wie gefährlich es ist. Okay.
Now looking ahead, how do you see the life and work of musicians and artists in general changing in the foreseeable future?
Okay, well, I think there's a big opportunity in embracing a new type of freedom where we can make our own storefront, even if it's very small, but we call the shots. We're no more dependent on big organizations, record companies, booking agencies, etc. But we can actually created on our own, and I think we should take that opportunity to express this to the fullest extent, you know, to be as radical as we need to do, and really create the music.
Take risks also.
That we want to hear, you know, and not maybe make some adjustment or become adaptive to work within in the context of what other people believe is still happening. You know, a lot of those protocols are no longer functioning. You know, so we have to dismantle those and actually see, okay, why are we still doing this? You know, why should we still go into a studio and spend a lot of money and time to make a record? I mean, it's fun to do that, but on a economically, it doesn't really make any sense. So we can reassign our creativity and our power into actually creating new platforms. If they're digitals or physically, it doesn't really matter, but I think there's a lot of opportunities where we don't look.